Good morning and welcome to Cooley Outdoors. I am your host, Brandon Scott, and with me again today, not by choice, is Sabrina Moon. And today we're going to be hiking in the Hoh Rainforest of Olympic National Park, where we are having two pretty rare things, snow and sunshine. It's rainforest, so it's supposed to rain all the time. Usually when I come, it's not raining, which is weird, but there's also a bunch of snow on the ground still from last week's storms. So this will make the trails exciting, and she, let me tell you, is the biggest fan of snow you will ever find. She hates snow. So, she hates snow worse than rain. So, we'll see how this goes. Thank you for joining us.
So today's hike takes place, like I said, in the Hoh Rainforest with snow. Still haven't fixed that roof. And yes, it is a true rainforest. It gets over 12 feet of precipitation a year. That's over 2 meter people height for everyone who does not live in the US. I can't do that conversion immediately into centimeters because I am a stupid American. But anyway, normally it's raining a lot. When we were here last year, it was raining a lot. This year, instead, we've got snow on the ground. And there has been some sunshine poking through, but it might start snowing on us again in a couple of hours, so we probably won't see any more sunshine for the day. But yes, green moss everywhere. There are 3 different trails leaving from the Visitor Center, which is what that building was in the background. The first one we are on is called the Hall of Mosses Trail, and it's a short little 1-mile loop. There's another one that goes towards the river called the Spruce Nature Trail, which takes along the river and go see some spruce trees. And then there's the Hoh River Trail itself, which goes up the Hoh River 30 odd miles. You're going right across the bridge. Oh, actually, yeah, we can go left first. Anyway, the Hoh River Trail goes up along the river some 20 odd miles to, called Glacier Basin or Alpine Basin or something like that, which is the main base camp for summiting Mount Olympus in the heart of the peninsula of the national park. And that takes like 4 to 7 days round trip because it's like 20 miles in to the base camp, another 10 miles up to summit the mountain, and then you got to come all the way back. But you get to get up close and personal to some glaciers and the tallest mountain in the Olympic Peninsula range, so it's pretty cool. Those are big dog prints. Anyway, both of these trails are pretty easy. There's nothing too spectacularly difficult about them, but they're good ways to experience the rainforest. Usually when I'm here, even in winter, I get sun for some reason. And consequently, whenever I go to the deserts of Utah and Arizona, I always get rained on. Good, hard rain. And the camera is still on because when we were here this time last year, we spent a good 10 or 15 minutes on this bridge watching salmon swim up and down the creek, and I'm hoping might get to see them again.
That's what we call salmon last year.
Mm-hmm. Hoping we get to see them again. But at least you get to see the stunningly clear rainforest creek water. Now the Hoh is all cloudy and gross looking because it's originally coming from glaciers. But this is just rainwater melt off, so it's going to be clear and gorgeous. A couple little birdies. Hoping we'd see some salmon, but we might not because they might run on an every other year schedule, so every other winter they're here, which means they're not going to be here this winter. But who knows? We might see some after all. Anyway, we'll continue on up the trail. So it might be hard to tell, but there is a great blue heron standing in the water, and the reason we stopped was not just to see the heron. There's a whole bunch of dappling in the stream here because there's a couple of salmon chasing each other. Don't know where they skittered off to. And of course the phone was too slow in getting the GoPro back up, so looks like all the excitement has died down. But there were two pretty big sized salmon chasing each other around. All the dripping into the creek is not rain, it's just all the water falling. Oh, there's some salmon up by the heron. You might not be able to see them, but right there's some salmon fluffing about. If you get it open on a big TV screen like a 50-inch, you'll probably be able to see at least the rivulets of the water, but I can barely pick out the heron on my phone screen. I only know where he is. But there is a bunch of salmon hanging out underneath that fallen log right in front of the heron, the really big one. I can count 5 or 6 of them hanging out there. I was hoping to see someone who crossed over the bridge, but we'll try again later. But the salmon were faffing about underneath this down log here, and then they disappeared into the reeds. I'm sure if we'd stand here long enough we'd see some more, but we'll try again later. There's some other people coming up the trail with us, so away we go. So this is what these rainforests are all about. Massive old growth trees of all kinds. Got a huge honkin' 500 or 600-year-old Sitka spruce there. A couple of massive Doug firs back there. And this trail isn't that long, and the reason it's called the Hall of Mosses, you can kind of see in the background over there, we're coming up to very shortly. But just, this is why national parks are created, to preserve nature in all of her glory. These massive trees, never to be scared of a saw ever again. Mosses dangling down multiple feet off of tree limbs. Hey, don't you skip the moss part. You're going into the maple trees. You get there. Silly munchkin trying to skip. It's because she had bad memory. No, right there. She's trying to skip it because last time she had to go fight through the puddles. But I mean, look at the size of that Sitka spruce tree. That's a 6 foot wide, 600 or 700-year-old behemoth. And that's not even the world record holder. We went and saw that last year in the Quinault on our last day out here. And it was 2 or 3 times that size. But this is where this trail gets its name, Hall of Mosses. All these massive, old, spindly vine maples just draped in eons and eons of moss. And I've been in here in the pouring down rain. I've been in here in the sunshine, and now I get to experience it in the snow and the fog. Did you get dripped on? She got dripped on, so she's upset now. But just, I mean, that's not a small tree there. And there is 2 or 3 feet of moss dripping off of it, and then lots and lots of bracken fern and licorice fern growing on the sides of it. Hmm? Oh, there's an oriole over on the base of the Sitka spruce somewhere in there. We've seen a lot of orioles this trip. Like, I mean a lot. Probably 40 or 50 of them by now. See, he looks like he's about to fly. Just thinking about it. Nope, back to grubbing. Decided we weren't a threat, so he doesn't need to bail. I'm really tempted to set up for a short, long exposure, but I know Munchkin will have a tizzy fit, so.
Oh.
You can continue walking along the trail.
I'm hungry.
There's snacky snacks in the top pouch.
But
What?
cold hands.
Yeah, I think I'm going to set up for it on long exposure. Alright, so I just took about a 7-minute long exposure looking at the great bigleaf maple trees of the actual Hall mosses. Serena went on along ahead. She's probably gonna be a little upset with me for hanging out, doing my own thing, but it is what it is. Sometimes I wish I'd go out on these ventures by myself. Look at that massive freaking Sitka spruce tree. Doubles there, a whole bunch more in there. But sometimes I wish I'd go on adventures by myself so I could take my own pace. Because if it was my choice, another cool indicator of really good rainforest is massive nurse log with trees upon trees upon trees growing out of it. But sometimes I should go by myself, because I would have hung out there for 20 minutes, half an hour, enjoying the silence and solitude. I don't think Serena quite understands it yet. Most quote-unquote modern people don't understand it. Alright, I'm going to shut up real quick for this. I'm going to hurriedly scuttle by this couple here. Looking for the oriole?
There it is.
Yep.
No.
Oh, squirrel.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or whatever the heck they're called.
I think it's just a regular squirrel.
One's the red.
Yeah. Anywho, I don't think Sabrina quite understands it, and most quote-unquote modern people really don't understand it. But there's something relaxing and rejuvenating about just hanging out in the woods or any place in nature where there's quiet and solitude, and just letting your senses absorb all of it. Letting your eyes take in all the little intricate details of every piece of moss hanging off the tree. Let your nose smell the crisp, damp coldness interspersed with the tangy of the pine boughs and the dank, heavy, almost creaminess of the decomposing vegetation. Your ears hearing every little whisper of wind through the moss and the drip, drip, dripping of the water coming down, and the creek or river in the background. And then, of course, the temperature, the cold dampness eating away at your extremities as your body fights off the urge to shiver. To most of you, that probably sounds like a pretty boring, sucky way to go through, but honestly, it's a great way to recharge after the hectic, heavy workload year I've had. My job doesn't suck, but it's heavy. Industrial cleaning, mostly of various oil spills. Sun trying to peek out there. Working 60, 70 hours a week, week in, week out. Hardly any weekends of freedom to myself. Nash and I couldn't hardly get out nearly as much as I wanted to. I had about 15 or 20 adventures, hikes, waterfalls, such and such I wanted to do over the summer and fall with Nash, and we did like 4. But it is what it is. So I take a couple of nice moments of solitude out here and enjoy it. Now I gotta find this grumpy munchkin wherever she went hiding. Alright, real quick to further illustrate how thoroughly massive some of these trees are. Like, this isn't even, this is a big one, but it's not anywhere near the biggest ones I've seen. This is a pretty dang good Sitka Spruce specimen. So I just took my backpack off. There's my backpack. Compared to that, it's a solid 6 feet across. Probably 500 or 600 years old. And these forests were once filled with these, not just the Sitka spruces. And if you don't know what a Sitka spruce is, that's okay. It's something that only grows low elevation here in the, I guess it's the northeastern coast of the Pacific Ocean, or what we call in North America the Pacific Northwest. The coast, very hugs the coast. Is that what I think it is? No, that's just some wet moss. Anyway, Sitka spruce, low elevation, near the ocean, where they constantly get wet. So it grows from here, a little further down into Oregon along the ocean, and all the way up into Alaska. But they like that where it's low, right next to the ocean. This is pretty far inland, but we're only 500 feet, or what is that? 160 meters above sea level, so we're still pretty low elevation, and we're like 25-30 miles inland from the ocean. But they like it low and always wet. But these forests used to be filled with these trees of this size. And part of the reason the national park was made was to protect what little these old growth forests were left, because as soon as white man smelled them and found the trees, you can take a guess what we did. Now, I'm not saying that was wrong. I mean, of course we needed the big trees and the big lumber to grow the nation and so on and so forth. But at the same time, I'm really glad somebody had the foresight to protect some of these spots so we could see what the rainforest looked like before we came through with our saws and tried to chop it all down. Still haven't found Sabrina. She's walking pretty good pace. I bet she's not happy with me, but we'll deal with that at a later time. Alright, I caught up to her. She walked fast because she's hungry, so I think we're gonna go have lunch back at Rex and then go do the other loop. She's hungry and got a little cold. Her toes never warmed back up. The heron is still over there. He's watching us in his stealthy ways. But we'll go over this bridge. Salmon are still farting around where they have been. A little surprised there's nobody right here, but the other loop trail also goes over the same creek a little ways further up, and I remember last year that's where we saw a lot of salmon was under that bridge, so hopefully we'll get better views that time too. But we're gonna go have some grub first.
Alright, so I have a bit of conundrum. The amount of video I took while in the Hoh rainforest is too much for one regular talky hikey video, so I'm gonna have to split up in 2 videos. One for the Hall of Mosses portion and one for the Spruce Nature Trail portion. So this is going to be the outro for the Hall of Mosses version. So thank you for joining us. The next video will be up in a couple of days. Wham, bam, skip through lunch. Go watch the next video.